Hi, I'm Clara Jennings. I'm 34 years old, a pediatric occupational therapist, and more than anything, I'm a mother. She whispered it so quietly I almost didn't hear. Mommy, if I sit down, it's gonna hurt my private part. The room was full of cranberry sauce and fake smiles when my 6-year-old daughter Maya said those words. And no one else heard her. No one but me. But the look in her eyes, it made something in my chest crack open. Before I tell you what happened next, what tore apart everything I thought I knew about family, drop a comment below. Tell me where you're listening from. Because this story, it still keeps me up at night. It was Thanksgiving, not the warm kind, not the kind with laughter and old photo albums. We were driving up to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, my father's house, the one with the steep porch steps and paint peeling off the trim like it couldn't hold the secrets inside anymore. It had been 5 years since we were invited to anything, and now, suddenly, an email. Family dinner. Bring something warm. I almost didn't go, but Maya looked up at me the night before, clutching her little stuffed bunny, and said, "Maybe Grandpa will be nice this time." And I, like a fool, wanted that to be true. So I baked a sweet potato casserole, packed Maya's overnight bag, and drove 6 hours through fog and silence. When we got there, the porch light flickered, catching bits of frost in the air. Maya sniffed the cold and whispered, "Smells like pie, Mommy." That was enough to make me knock. The house looked the same as it always had. Pale green walls, outdated wallpaper curling at the corners, the faint smell of cinnamon and cigarette smoke from decades ago. My stepmother Liz answered the door. Her perfume was powdery sweet and far too much. She gave me a quick hug, light as a breeze, and said, "You look tired, Clara? Long drive?" What she meant was, "Don't cause trouble." My sister Lena was in the dining room, already arranging the crystal glasses like the stemware might judge her. She shot me the kind of smile you give to someone trying to sell you a timeshare. "Glad you could make it," she said. Her voice was clipped. Maya tightened her grip on my hand. We moved through the room like guests in a museum where everything was breakable. Uncle Daryl, Lena's husband, was already too loud. Grandpa David was barking out orders from the armchair, and Maya's little cousins were playing a loud tablet game on the floor. No one asked how Maya was doing in school. No one noticed she didn't take off her coat. I did. I noticed how she sat stiffly on the edge of the couch like she was afraid of sinking into it. I noticed how her eyes darted, not curious, cautious. Dinner was served buffet style, everyone piling plates with stuffing and gravy, pretending like we were one big normal family. The cedar dining table was still the same one my father sanded by hand before Mom died. But that night, even the wood felt cold. Maya was told to sit with the kids at the far end. She hesitated, looked up at me, and then she leaned in and whispered it. "Mommy, if I sit, my private part will hurt." It was the quietest explosion. I blinked. The clatter of forks, the clink of glasses, Lena's laugh, Grandpa's voice booming about sweet tea. None of it registered. Everything in me went still. Uncle Daryl laughed first. "Drama queen," he muttered, buttering a roll. That side of the family always was soft. Liz narrowed her eyes at Maya. "That's inappropriate, young lady. Sit up straight." And then everyone just kept eating. Like she hadn't just said what she said. Like this wasn't a child whispering a scream. I knelt down beside Maya, my voice trembling. "Baby, does something hurt right now?" She nodded. No tears, just this silent, sunken sadness that no 6-year-old should carry. I felt my pulse in my throat. "We're going to the bathroom, okay?" Nobody asked if we needed help. Nobody even paused their eating. They all just kept slicing turkey and gossiping like my daughter hadn't just dropped a grenade in the middle of the table. I walked her down the hall, hand shaking. My stomach twisted into a knot I still haven't been able to untangle. What I saw in that bathroom changed everything. And I knew, even before I lifted the phone to call for help, my family would never forgive me. But I wasn't asking for forgiveness. I was asking for the truth. The bathroom door clicked shut behind us, and the hallway sounds, cutlery scraping, forced laughter, football on TV muffled into a sick hum. Maya stood frozen, staring at the duck-shaped soap dispenser like it might save her. I reached for a hand towel, trying to keep my voice steady. "Sweetheart," I whispered. I need to check just to make sure you're okay. Is that all right? She gave a tiny nod, no bigger than a blink. Her fingers fumbled with her tights. I helped her gently, carefully. And then I saw it. Along the crease of her inner thigh, just above where her underwear had rested, was a smear of redness. Fresh, angry, unmistakable. A place no playground could bruise, no accidental fall could reach. It wasn't just skin. It was a warning carved in silence. I nearly dropped to my knees. A metallic taste filled my mouth. My chest tightened so hard I thought I might throw up. My training, my degree, all those nights at the hospital teaching children to walk again, none of it prepared me for this. Because this wasn't theory. This was my baby. I knelt to her eye level, trying not to cry, trying to keep it together for her. Did someone touch you here, Maya? She didn't answer. She just stared at the faucet. But her lip trembled. I wrapped my arms around her and held her so close I could feel her heartbeat fluttering against my ribs. You didn't do anything wrong, I whispered. You hear me? You did nothing wrong. She nodded again but didn't speak. She clutched her stuffed bunny to her chest, and I could see the damp outline of tiny fingers soaked in sweat. I helped her pull her clothes back on, kissed her temple, and walked her back down the hall like I was leading her out of a battlefield. When we stepped into the living room again, my family didn't even look up. Grandpa was still barking about cranberry sauce. Lena was scrolling her phone. Daryl was pouring himself another drink. Only Liz caught my eye. She tilted her head. Is this necessary? Dinner's getting cold. My jaw clenched. Maya isn't well. We're stepping out, I said flatly, grabbing our coats. Lena scoffed and rolled her eyes. Oh, for God's sake, Clara. Not everything is a diagnosis. Daryl chuckled. The kid's just spoiled. I ignored them all. In the guest room, I tucked Maya under the covers and handed her the bunny. If you get scared, squeeze him. I'll be right outside. She nodded, cheeks red with shame she hadn't earned. Then I stepped onto the porch and pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking so bad I had to steady them against the railing. Dispatchers need clarity, not tears. When the 911 operator answered, my voice came out like gravel. I need someone sent to 143 Nettlewood Drive. I think something's been happening to my daughter. There was silence on the other end. And then the calm, trained voice of a woman who'd heard too many mothers like me. Help is on the way. 10 minutes later, the first cruiser pulled up. Blue lights danced across the icy lawn. Behind it came the ambulance. I stood outside, coatless in the cold, because I couldn't make myself go back in. Not while she was still in there. 2 officers climbed the stairs. A female EMT followed, red bag slung over her shoulder. She caught my gaze and I pointed toward the door. Liz opened it before they knocked. Her face was a mask of confusion and contempt. Did someone pass out? Clara, what have you done? My voice was barely a whisper. My daughter needs a medical exam. She's in the guest room. Liz's mouth twitched. She stepped aside reluctantly. Inside, the moment uniforms crossed the threshold, the energy in the house shifted. The living room erupted. Lena rushed over in heels too high to be helpful. You're making a scene, she hissed, jaw clenched so tight I thought she might shatter her own teeth. Daryl leaned back, smirking. See what happens when unstable people have kids? I didn't flinch. I stared right through him. The EMT knelt beside Maya, speaking softly, gaining trust the way professionals do, with eye contact, not pressure. Maya nodded, gave permission. They disappeared into the adjoining bathroom while an officer stood watch in the hall. Behind me, voices swelled like a storm. Is she sick? Did she fall? She's always been dramatic, Clara. You know that. I didn't respond. My eyes stayed locked on the bathroom door, willing it to open, terrified of what would come out when it did. The clock ticked. I could hear it from the hallway, each second thudding like a warning bell. Then the EMT emerged. Her face was pale. She motioned for me to follow her into the kitchen. There's been touching, she whispered. Repeated. She named someone. The walls spun. Who? A beat of silence. Your brother-in-law, Daryl. And in that moment, the world I knew cracked open. and something far darker waited underneath. For a full second, I couldn't breathe. Daryl? I stared at the EMT like the words hadn't landed right. Like maybe she'd said a different name and my ears just betrayed me. But no. She said Daryl, the man who gave Maya sticker books and magic tricks, who always made her sit on his lap longer than the other kids. I thought he was just overly friendly, a little inappropriate, a little boundary blind. I thought wrong. Thank you, I managed. My mouth felt like rust. Please stay with her. The EMT nodded. I stepped back into the hall just as the officers moved toward the living room. I could feel the tension shift, the way air bends before a storm breaks. Liz stepped into their path. Excuse me, she said, voice clipped. Why are you going in there? One officer replied, calm and firm. We need to speak with Mr. Daryl Holloway. Lena turned sharply, placing herself between them and Daryl like a loyal dog. This is insane. You can't just walk in and accuse someone at dinner. Daryl stood up slowly. He even had the nerve to smile. I didn't do anything. Clara's daughter is confused. She's always been dramatic. My fists clenched at my sides. The taller officer remained calm. Sir, we need to ask you some questions. Please come with us. Daryl looked around like he expected someone to jump to his defense. No one did. Even Liz faltered for a second. Lena, however, snarled at me. You're tearing this family apart. No, I said quietly. He did. Daryl glanced at me as the handcuffs clicked. The sound echoed through the house, metal and final. He didn't look angry. He looked smug, like he still thought he'd walk out of this. As the officers led him toward the door, Grandma Betty gasped. Cousin Eli looked away. The room fractured into silence, and still, no one moved to help Maya. I hurried to the guest room. Maya sat on the bed, Bunny in her lap, her small shoulders tight as wire. You did the right thing, I whispered, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. You're so brave, baby. So brave. Her eyes welled up, but she didn't cry. Not yet. She just whispered, I was scared to tell. I know. But you're not alone anymore. She nodded, curling her fingers into mine. The front door slammed. Cold air rushed down the hallway, followed by silence thick enough to choke on. I turned to see Liz standing at the end of the hallway, gripping the doorframe with white knuckles. Her voice was low, each word deliberate. I will never forgive you for this. I didn't flinch. I didn't apologize. Instead, I walked right past her and began packing Maya's things. That night, we rode in the ambulance to the children's hospital. The EMT handed me a trauma response pamphlet, but my hand shook so badly I couldn't read the words. I stared at the golden streetlights passing through the window as Maya fell asleep against my shoulder. She still wore her sneakers, like she was ready to run. I filed my police report at 1:13 a.m. By the time we returned to my duplex, dawn had started to pinken the sky. No one from the family called. No texts. Not even a sad emoji on the post I left explaining Maya's absence from school. Liz's number is blocked now. Lena's voicemail is full. Only Pastor Evans left a message, syrupy and shallow, about how grace will carry us through, and that I should step away from the women's group until the dust settles. Dust. As if Maya's body were just a dirty shelf we could wipe clean. The house has felt different since. Not quiet. Restless. The fridge hums louder. The walls creak at odd hours. Sometimes I check the locks twice before going to bed. Sometimes I check them again. Maya still crawls into bed with me most nights. She doesn't say much, just curls into me and holds on. One morning, as I was making oatmeal, she sat at the kitchen table and whispered, Is it okay to sit now? I put a pillow on the chair and said, Yes, baby, you're safe. She perched like a sparrow, shoulders stiff, but she ate every bite. That felt like victory. A few days later, her teacher called. Nothing urgent, she said, but Maya drew something. I think you need to see it. And that's when I knew. This wasn't over. It hadn't even really begun. The school hallway smelled like crayons and lemon-scented floor polish. I walked past posters of turkeys made from handprints and what I'm thankful for lists. Kids laughed somewhere down the corridor, distant, muffled. I wasn't thankful. I was bracing. Maya's teacher, Ms. Levine, met me outside her classroom. She was kind, early 40s, always kept her tone even when she said hard things. Today, though, there was something behind her eyes, something tight. She said I could show you, she murmured, motioning me inside. On the table lay a sheet of thick red construction paper, a child's drawing, Maya's handwriting in the top corner. I sat down slowly. It was a chair, spiked, lines of black jutting upward from the seat. Red crayon dripped beneath it in jagged trails. Above it was a stick figure with blue tears and a speech bubble that said, "It hurts." Off to the side stood two more figures, arms crossed, backs turned. One labeled Grandma, the other, Mom. I felt something inside me seize. She called it the game chair, Ms. Levine said, and said that's where the quiet game happened. My jaw tightened. She drew this today? This morning, right after reading time. I nodded. I'll do whatever you need. You can call CPS. I already did, she said gently. The counselor submitted the report an hour ago. When I got home, I found Maya lying on the floor with her bunny, silently coloring next to the space heater. I watched her for a long time. Her small hands steady, focused, drawing as if it was the only place left she felt free. That night, I stayed up organizing everything. The drawings, the EMT report, the case number. I scanned and emailed every file to my lawyer, Tina Marks. The next morning, I woke up to a text. From Lena. Lunch? Just you and me. Let's talk like grown-ups. My stomach dropped. I didn't reply, but I went. The cafe she picked was downtown. Trendy, too bright, with glass walls and acoustic jazz playing overhead. She was already there, hair perfect, sipping a green tea like nothing had happened. Sylvia. She smiled, standing for a hug I didn't return. You look tired. I sat. I want to clear the air, she began, voice soft, practiced. I don't want this to ruin our family. Maya's been through a lot. Maybe more than she even realizes. And you know how kids are. Imaginative. I didn't speak. She sighed. I brought you something. From her bag, she slid a manila envelope across the table. I stared at it. What's this? Just a way forward, she said. If we drop this legal nonsense, no police, no court, it can all go away. We'll make sure Maya gets help, but not like this. I opened it. Custody paperwork, drafted, not filed. Yet. Next to it, a mutual silence agreement. I dropped the pages on the table like they burned. You want to buy my silence? She winced. It's not like that. Yes, Lena, it is. You're making this worse than it needs to be. I stood up slowly. You already lost her. The only question is what else you're willing to lose. I left without another word. When I got home, Maya was asleep in her hoodie, bunny clutched in both arms. She looked smaller than ever. At midnight, she woke up and tiptoed to my room. Can I sleep here again? She whispered. Always, I said, pulling back the blanket. She crawled in, settled under my arm. Her breathing slowed. Then, in the dark, her voice came again. Do you think they'll believe me this time? It sliced through me. I held her tighter, because that was the moment I realized this wasn't just about getting custody. This was about her voice, her truth, and making sure no one buried it again. The call came the next morning. I was halfway through filling out insurance forms when my phone buzzed across the kitchen counter. Harmony Elementary School, Ms. Wheeler. My chest clenched. Ms. Jennings? Her voice was calm, but there was something underneath it. Everything's okay. Maya is safe, but I think you should come in. There's something you need to hear. 20 minutes later, I was in her office, Maya sitting outside coloring under the receptionist's watch, mitts. Wheeler held up Maya's school tablet. She left it in the reading nook. I powered it up to charge and this file was open. A recording. I don't think she meant to leave it behind, but She handed it to me. You'll want to hear it. I hit play. The first few seconds were mostly static. The quiet rustle of fabric, a distant refrigerator hum. Then, voices. I told you, a woman said sharply. Don't let her talk like that at school. Another voice followed. Cold, measured, older. If she keeps saying things about that man, we all lose. Do you understand me? My blood froze. I knew those voices. My sister Lena, and our stepmother Liz. Then came Maya's voice, soft, trembling. But it hurts. A slap, a sharp crack, then crying. Stop acting like a brat, Lena snapped. And then, barely audible, Maya's voice broken. Mommy, please don't let him. The audio cut off. I couldn't breathe. I didn't realize I'd been gripping the tablet until my fingers ached. Ms. Wheeler handed me a tissue without a word. I pulled out my phone, opened my voice memo app. I played the recording again, this time into the speaker, clean and untouched. Raw truth. Then I called Marcia Doyle, the legal advocate I'd met during my volunteer work at the shelter. She picked up on the third ring. Sylvia? I have a minor under my care. I just found a recording, I said, voice tight. It includes emotional abuse, physical harm, and evidence that they're protecting the man who hurt her. No hesitation. Bring me the audio, Marcia said. We'll file for emergency protective custody. A judge will grant a restraining order. We'll build this case. Fast. That night, I got home before Maya. School let out early for a staff meeting. She was already at the kitchen table, pencil in hand, quietly sketching like nothing had changed. She looked up as I entered. Then, slowly, silently, she slid a piece of paper across the table toward me. I unfolded it. Another drawing. This time, Maya had drawn a small girl standing in front of a looming figure with glowing red eyes. In the girl's hand, a giant shield. On it, in thick block letters, she'd written, Aunt Clara. I felt my throat close. I knelt beside her, rested my forehead against hers. This time, I whispered, no one's going to silence you. She smiled, just a little. That night, she curled up on the couch and fell asleep with the drawing in her lap. I carried her to bed, tucked her in, and left the hallway light on. When morning came, we were out the door before the sun was up. On the drive to the courthouse, Maya reached across the console and laced her pinky finger around mine. Is this what bravery feels like? She asked. I looked over at her. And for the first time, I let the tears come. The courthouse smelled like lemon polish and paper older than memory, the kind of building where time echoes. I held Maya's hand as we walked through security. She wore the blue cardigan I'd laid out that morning, buttoned all the way to the top. Her sneakers squeaked on the marble floor. She didn't speak, but I could feel her watching everything, counting every sound, every step. Truth isn't rude, I whispered, straightening the barrette in her hair. It's just loud enough to be heard. She nodded, pressed her lips together, and walked into the courtroom beside me. Judge Harold glanced up from a thick stack of folders. We're here on a petition for emergency guardianship, he said. Ms. Jennings, you're the petitioner? Yes, Your Honor, I said, voice steady. Marcia Doyle, my advocate, stood beside me. Across the aisle, Lena sat ramrod straight in a charcoal suit. Liz was next to her, looking like grief carved from glass. And with them sat a man I didn't know, a stranger in a sharp blazer, leather briefcase on the floor. Ms. Holloway, the judge continued, you filed a counter-petition requesting full custody of Maya Jennings and a psychological evaluation of the petitioner. And this man is? Our expert, Lena said smoothly. Dr. Randall Kane, licensed therapist. The judge raised an eyebrow. Proceed. Dr. Kane took the stand first. He adjusted his tie like a man about to deliver bad news he found personally amusing. I've reviewed Ms. Jennings' social media posts, case history, and volunteer records, he began. Her behavior is consistent with savior complex patterns, projection of unresolved childhood trauma, obsessive tendencies, and exaggerated emotional framing of normal family conflict. I sat frozen, biting my cheek until I tasted blood. She is, in short, a rescuer, he concluded. Her fixation on protecting this child may be distorting her perception of events. The courtroom was silent. Marcia stood slowly, calm, precise. Dr. Kane, she said, are you currently licensed in the state of Idaho? He blinked. My application is pending. Pending? She echoed. Savit, you're not licensed. He shifted in his seat. Well, not yet. She turned to the judge. Your Honor, Exhibit B, disciplinary action filed against Mr. Kane in Arizona. Suspension for unethical diagnostic practices involving custody disputes. Gasps rippled from the gallery. No further questions, Marcia said. Judge Harold frowned, flipping through documents. Duly noted. Then Marcia pulled out the final piece. Exhibit C, she said. An unedited audio recording retrieved from Maya Jennings's school tablet. She pressed play. The room went dead quiet. Maya's voice. But it hurts, Lena. Stop acting like a brat. Liz, if she talks, we all lose. A sharp slap. The sound of a child crying. By the time the clip ended, no one was breathing. The judge exhaled through his nose and tapped the gavel lightly. I've heard enough. His voice dropped an octave. Effective immediately, I'm granting emergency guardianship of Maya Jennings to Clara Jennings. A criminal investigation into Mr. Darrell Holloway remains open. He glanced over at Lena. A no-contact order is issued against Ms. Lena Holloway and Mrs. Elizabeth Green. Violation of this order will result in arrest. Lena's mouth dropped open. This is insane. She's manipulating everyone. Sit down, Ms. Holloway. The judge snapped. Liz reached for her daughter's hand, but Lena pulled away. Outside the courtroom, Maya and I sat on a hallway bench beneath a tall window. Sunlight spilled onto the floor. She leaned into my side, her fingers curled into my sleeve. Can I go home now? She asked, voice so small it nearly broke me. I kissed her forehead. We're building a new one, I said, just for you. That afternoon, we packed our things and left the duplex for good. A new rental waited. Smaller, quieter, with locks that only we had the keys to. No more raised voices, no more slammed doors, no more silence carved into shame. Just a girl, a bunny, and the woman who would never stop fighting for her. 2 weeks after the courtroom, things finally began to quiet. The new rental was small, just 2 bedrooms and a narrow kitchen. But every wall had fresh paint and every lock turned smooth beneath my hand. Maya lined her sneakers up by the front door every day after school, double knotting the laces before stepping inside. She never said why. She didn't need to. Some nights she slept the whole way through. Others she'd still whisper in the dark, "Are you here?" And I'd answer, always, "I'm not going anywhere." We planted sunflower seeds in the backyard. She named each one, and for a moment I thought maybe the worst had passed. Until one Thursday afternoon, she walked out of her room holding a new drawing. The paper was thicker than usual, like the kind they gave out in art therapy. Across the top, in blocky numbers, she'd written 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 stick figures stood across the page. The first was me, hair in brown loops. The second was Maya, smiling with a pink crayon dress. The third was Grandpa David, with gray curls and a guitar. The fourth? A tall figure with square shoulders drawn in dark pencil, angry eyebrows, a rectangle around him like a box, underneath. Uncle Russ. I froze. Uncle Russ, Joelle's twin brother. Always quiet at family dinners. Always off to the side, carving turkey or fixing the stereo. The one who brought Maya a chemistry set last Christmas. He wasn't in the CPS reports. He wasn't named before. I swallowed hard. Honey, I asked gently, why is Uncle Russ in a box? She shifted her weight from foot to foot. That's Grandma's guest room. That's where he used to come after the quiet game. The world tilted again. Did you tell anyone? I didn't want to make trouble, she whispered. He said I was his secret scientist. My hands shook. I snapped a photo of the drawing and emailed it to Detective Loring, the one assigned to the case. He called within minutes. We missed him. His voice was tight. "We'll start interviews with any other children who attended those dinners." 5 days later, Luring called again. Russ had been arrested. 2 other children, cousins Maya played with, had quietly named him during interviews. All the stories matched. The locked room, the science game, the secret. That night, Maya stood on the patio barefoot, watering the sunflowers with her little plastic jug. She hummed to herself, soft and off-key, but calm. Her toes wiggled in the dirt. I walked out and sat beside her, watching the soil darken under the trickle of water. "They grow slow," she said, eyes fixed on the green stalks. "But they're big when they're ready." I tugged the brim of her floppy straw hat and smiled. "Just like you." The next morning, the mail arrived. In it, an envelope, cream-colored, addressed in my mother's handwriting. My fingers trembled as I opened it. "Clara, I was wrong. I wanted to believe the stories weren't true, because the truth hurt more. I will testify. I'm sorry I let silence speak for me. Mom." I read it aloud at the kitchen table while Maya colored beside me. When I finished, she put down her crayon. "I want to stay here," she said simply. I nodded and smoothed the paper flat. "You will." Even now, weeks later, that moment still glows in my memory like a porch light in the dark. Maya saying, "I want to stay here." No hesitation, no fear, just certainty. We'd built something together, a home not made of square footage or perfect walls, but of safety. Of mornings that didn't start with whispered apologies, of nights that didn't end with silent tears on a pillow. The rental was still modest. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. But every door swung open without a key. Every window let in light. Each morning, I woke to the sound of Maya's bare feet slapping across the hardwood floor and the smell of maple syrup. She lined up her sneakers by the door like clockwork. Laces double-knotted, tongues tucked in. It wasn't habit. It was proof. Proof she didn't expect to be whisked away anymore. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we drove to art therapy. On off days, she went to school part-time, slowly rejoining the world. She rejoined it carefully, but she rejoined it. Evenings we planted. Basil, marigolds, a row of tiny sunflower starts. She said the flowers made the fence look less lonely. One quiet Thursday, Maya came into the kitchen holding another sheet of thick white paper. This one wasn't scary, it was a list. Numbers scrawled from 1 to 5. Next to each, a stick figure. 1. Me, with big looped hair and a heart drawn on my chest. 2. Maya, arms raised, smiling. 3. Grandpa David with his guitar. 4. Grandma Liz with a red X over her. 5. Uncle Ben. I froze. Ben, my sister's bachelor brother. The one who did coin tricks, the one no one ever suspected. He wasn't in the first reports. He hadn't been on my radar, but now here he was, on paper, in Maya's world. "Why is Uncle Ben here?" I asked gently, crouching beside her. She looked at the picture, then at me. "That's my room at Grandma's," she said softly. "He used to come in after the game." My heart twisted. "You're not in trouble," I whispered. She nodded. I didn't want to tell before. I thought it'd make everything worse. I didn't speak. I couldn't. Instead, I snapped another photo of the drawing and emailed it to Detective Luring. His response was swift. "We missed him. Sending a team to interview the other children from those dinners. Do not alert him." 5 days later, Luring called again. Ben had been arrested. 2 other minors, again, had corroborated Maya's account. Same timeline, same patterns, same sick routine. Lena's statement confirmed she'd had a bad feeling, but hadn't acted on it because family comes first. I wanted to scream. That night, Maya and I sat on the patio, watching the sunflowers grow. She poured water from her plastic jug while humming softly. "They grow slow," she said, "but they're strong when they're ready." I nodded. "So are you." The mailbox squeaked the next day. Inside, a cream envelope. The handwriting stopped me cold. It was from my mother. I opened it, hands trembling. "Clara, I was wrong. I wanted to believe it was all made up because the truth hurt too much. I will testify. I'm sorry I let silence speak louder than your voice, than hers. I'm sorry. Mom. I read it out loud at the table. Maya didn't look up from her coloring, but when I finished, she set her crayon down. I like it here, she said simply. You're staying, I promised. That night, we curled on the couch eating leftover banana pancakes. Her idea of dessert. She leaned her head on my arm and sighed. A soft, weightless sound. I thought back to every siren, every courtroom bench, every slammed door. I used to believe rescue was dramatic. Headlines, police lights, a single moment. But it's not. Rescue is banana pancakes at 9 p.m. Rescue is a little girl sleeping through the night without flinching. Rescue is a shoe rack by the door and no one yelling about where you left them. Rescue is soft and steady and earned. Later, as I pulled the blanket over us, Maya looked up. Does this mean I'm safe now? She asked. I kissed the top of her head. No, baby, I whispered. It means you're home.